guys and gals. I'm not a political guy. I never was big in history and, you know, world administration and, you know, the society on a higher level, you know, federal government base. Like I never really wrapped my head around it. For one, maybe it was too technical for me to do that, but on a maybe higher level, right? Outside of the the humanoid mindset that I have and many people have, I just don't believe that the politics, especially in America, because I'm always going to be talking about places that I like where I've been and live. I'm not going to ignorantly speak on things negatively or positively so much on places I haven't been or lived in. But I've been in America for over 30 years. I have roots in America. I have generations in America. Although, you know, I am African based. I am not American, essentially by genealogy, right? My heritage is not African, but it's, you know, Jamaican based. So I have that, but I've been rooted and basically desensitized to the American society that is the US. So I can only really speak on that. But I never really got into politics, the laws of it. I think there's loopholes in these laws from local, from state, from federal, where it's just going to benefit the law moderator, the messenger, the uplifter, the signer, the one who presses the button, all that, right? I don't really agree with it. And I raise my I guess, proverbial flag on why people do, not so much because we yearn for guidance, right? Especially on a national level. You know, democracy, I kind of pair that with free will. Is that really there? Is that really extrude? I don't really know. That's a very, very gray area. I think things are put in play because that's how it's supposed to go. This was designed in a weird way. I don't really know. And that's kind of why I stop at certain things. My mind goes like 24 miles per hour sometimes, but I stop at certain things because there's agendas, right? Like there's physical, man-made agendas, and then there's the world where there's destiny and supposedly free will. Like, now, destiny and free will, where's that fence? Where's that fine line? I don't know. Certain things happen for a reason. I say all that to say this. These Epstein files, Trump administration has been going on for the last almost decade, especially how, you know, post-COVID came into play, and everything just kind of went kind of weird, what kind of haywire. I think there was like a little glitch in the system, but I'm not like, I said all that to say there's agendas in the politicians and the higher ups and the 1% of the 1% in the bureaucracy, right? And the leftists, the right, it don't matter. Like, it's just, there's hidden, you can call it spiritual, you could call it, I don't know, like sinful. I don't want to use these religious based words, but it's just the world, and at least America, the American society, American way of thinking is very, very corrupt. And it all starts with these forefathers and the lawmakers, right? So it's insanity to think that someone like me, not even in my way of thinking, right? In my weird middle line way of thinking, but being not of American first blood, I would say, right? I am not a full American, because an American, American is by region. This is where we grew up in. What is being American? That's a whole nother thing. So knowing that I'm paired next to peers who's been, who's had those roots from slavery, like knowing that I am next to that, and knowing that there's agendas around colorism, right? The black male in America has a figurative laser on their head, right? And I think lines are getting blurred, right? I think there's progression. There's progression. There's that progressive agenda, and because it mixed with affirmative action. I get all that. I think a lot of the social media help blur those lines a bit too. People are finding a voice and a platform that can worship a democratic-like system virtually. So I get all that, but it's like everything that it was built off of corruption. Like everything was built off of being corrupt. You guys got to remember that a lot of these forefather figures, the first fathers, and these presidential, all of these people, centuries and centuries ago, right? Incest was a thing. Some incest is still a thing some places. All right, so you got incest. You got people who were birthed out of incest. Compared to people who weren't. Right? I mean, things have an origin. So and outside of that, you got what do you call it? People being kids essentially being married at 12, 13, 14. In different cultural backgrounds, right? So when you hear about these Epstein files and people like a Trump and the 1,000 other people who's implicated or seemingly involved is around this. I mean, you guys have heard of Pizzagate, right? I mean, like there's all this stuff, right? Pair it to the whole thing in the entertainment, music business, right? You pair all that. This has been going on for centuries, generations, right? And it's now in plain sight because the barrier has been stripped. Like we've made the barrier strip with finding a voice in another means. So you can't really be surprised that our role models, I won't say our role models, our officials who are supposed to govern and sanction and make sure, things are on the up and up for its citizens, which hasn't really been happening that much. You can't really be surprised that these people have been touching kids. Like, it's weird for me. I look at the person, I look at the individual, citizen or not, who's surprised that certain names are brought up or implicated. There's things that's going on. I don't see a place in time where that stuff hasn't been happening. Right? I think you get to a certain point. I have no idea. But I think you get to a certain point where there's a certain status, where there's a certain level of money that's extended far beyond most generations of people to come. I think you get to a point where the influence and the power that's behind money, connections, right? It disturbs the mind, disrupts morality, and that's just what happens, right? I mean, there could be scientific studies on missing chromosomes, why people do the stuff they do. A lot of things are still premeditated. There's a deep, dark web rabbit hole of this tree branch of like psychotic, psychiatric stuff. I can't really find the words of it because it's so corrupt. Like we're talking about, this is 2026. All right. I mean, we're talking about America standing, being a united front, right? A legalized country for centuries. This has been going on for centuries. It just has. So, when people say, why don't you vote? You're not voting, you make up the scale of the other tens of thousands, 100,000 people who don't vote or who vote wrong. And it's like, well, they're all corrupt, even by association. I can't vote on something I don't believe in. Just because I'm supposed to pick, just because I have 5 colors and my color isn't there, right? Or I have 5 different, types of vehicles, and the vehicle I like isn't there. I don't have to subjugate myself, my life, my mindset, my spirituality, my morality, my physicalness to the list that you give me, just because you have funding behind you, just because it's the norm, just because, the yellow brick road is not often taken, right? Like, no, I want this other car that nobody really knows about. There's something else out there that I don't have to align myself with, the masses, like it's sick. It's sick. It's cruel. It's demeaning. It's quite disrespectful that these are elected officials of a world powered country doing this or being even involved. Because if I'm clean, Deshaun's not in this. You're not going to hear my name. You're not going to hear my name. I was playing a clip from Barack, and he was like, Obama, right? He was like, imagine if I did any of this. That's what I'm going to end on. It's just that simple. It's just that simple. I think correlation sometimes, a lot of times, has causation, but there's always an origin of something, good and evil, right? And you are a part of it, a lot of times by force, right? Until, because you don't ask to be born in a certain environment, right? Under a certain rule. But if there's an ounce, a small dosage of free will somewhere, if my lineage, right, or my life specifically isn't already written, and I have some power to maneuver, then that's just the road I'm gonna take. That's the road I'm gonna take. I don't have to subject myself to the leaders that be, because they're corrupt. It's corrupt. It's all corrupt. All of it's corrupt. Don't be surprised if nothing happens. Don't be surprised if people don't get in, if people don't get impeached, if rules don't change. You can't be surprised about that. I think there's a higher power at hand behind certain things. And in my opinion, my weird mind, the people who see it, right, who see it through everything, who see it through the money, through the suits, through the glamour, right, through the news, through the likes, through the comments, the shares, the people who see through that stuff, right, through the vernacular, the verbiage, the degrees, the connections, people who see through that stuff, they get uneasy, right? And they're like, I can't go this way. I don't care if my family's going this, I can't do this. I can't say yes to a higher power, a physical higher power that we believe God ordained and is doing this. He is not a representative of me, or this place isn't a representative of me. I don't stand on it. And so I'm hoping that there's a lot of more people who are thinking or starting to think this way. And when you're starting to have conversations like the ones I'm having with myself at the moment, right? You start stammering over words, right? Like you feel confused on how to portray your thoughts. But it's a mess. It's a mess. Obviously, that's led me to my exit out of the States, right? I'm connected by design. But I don't have to live from the tree that I fall off of. I don't have to live by it necessarily, right? Life is about preservation, right? You sprinkle morality in it. It's not that complicated, you know. You call a spade, but there's hidden agendas in the world, man. There's hidden agendas in America that I can't stand with, and I will sacrifice certain things to just not be a part of it. It's just that, it's really that simple for me now. It's that simple, and I'm gonna figure it out. If I'm made to prosper in my life, I will put myself in different opportunities. I will isolate myself to plan and execute accordingly. I will take advisory from certain things to propel myself where I need to go as a means of just trying. In this world-like simulation, I'm just trying to maneuver and not be captured, right? Or feeling too desensitized to just things that go around us. Like it's sick. It's sick. Everything's corrupt. There's always a something gate next to it, man. It's the world that we live in. All right, so you guys just keep maneuvering. And if it's not even physically, it's mentally, you know. Just because people are put in your life don't mean they have to be there temporarily. There's a season for things, all right? And there's always an escape because the world is almost indefinite. There's a way around certain things if we open our mind. I truly believe in that. I truly believe in manifestation. I am not going to let this person, this Senate, this state, this Congress, right, these leaderships, right, these executives, if we're talking about work, control my life, my way of thinking, my way of feeding, my way of living, because they're corrupt. And I'm trying not to be, right? You can't let people corrupt you, I'm telling you. So it doesn't matter what happened. Release the files, they're gonna start doing stuff, you know. If Diddy, if Diddy can come out in 2028, 2029 off of good behavior, come on, man. Don't be surprised if all this goes under the blunder, right? It's in plain sight. You know, a lot of these people are gonna be acquitted if it even comes out. So let me know what y'all think in the comments.